Hi, I'm Haley Lineberry,
I'm Colton Johnson.
and this is our manager leadership interview project. We interviewed Leela Silver, who is the general manager at Over Yonder, which is a restaurant in Valley Crucis.
Over Yonder opened in June of 2014, roughly a little over 2 years ago. Um, their mission is to interpret classic Appalachian food in a modern way. It's Southern style cuisine, everything scratch prepared or done the hard and stupid way. Uh, the house itself, the restaurant, was built in 1862, but it has been remodeled in 2014 into a more modern style restaurant. So everything's up to code, obviously, like any new restaurant would be.
So we have some pictures. So the one on the left is the restaurant itself, so the remodeled home that Colton was talking about. And then the one on the right was the dining room where we actually did the interview of Leela. And each dining room has its own name and it's really cool. So you'll see some other rooms and like places around the restaurant that we took pictures of later in the project.
The menu, like I said, is classic Southern style cuisine, but it has a more fine dining feel mixed with casual dining. So I wouldn't consider it to be fine dining, but it's a mixture between the casual dining and fine dining. They try and adapt to food trends. Their menu reflects a lot of the current trends in dietetics. They grow a lot of their own food, seasonal vegetables and herbs in the back lot behind the property in raised beds. Not like a significant amount of food, but enough to say they grow their own produce, I would say. Um, Leela told us that the hardest dietary need to cater towards is veganism, which is obvious for anyone who knows what Southern style cuisine is all about, which is typically a meat and butter.
So Leela's background, she has been the general manager at Over Yonder for 2 years, but before that, Leela worked at Sixpence Pub in Blowing Rock, and she was the general manager for 6 years.
Leela's daily routine, as she told us, is day to day. 2 days are never the same, so you always have to be on your toes, never knowing what to expect when you walk into the restaurant. Um, she does a lap around the restaurant when she first gets there and checks on everything, gets the drawer ready for customers before they arrive, just to make sure everything's running smoothly before the restaurant opens and customers begin to pour in. Um, Typically, the hardest thing for her to keep track of are her employees themselves. So if someone's sick or can't make it to work, she has to figure out what to do in that situation, and how to keep the operation running smoothly.
So we asked Leela, how do you manage your employees? And she said that she lets her employees know her expectations ahead of time and that her trust is earned and like as in any relationship you have to earn her trust. And so Leela tries to be really firm at first when she's setting the expectations and standards, and then she can back off once like they get used to her and how she works in the restaurant itself. And so she described herself as kind with a purpose, and if you're loyal to Leela, then she'll be loyal to you.
Obviously, money is the biggest motivation for employees in any job, specifically in the restaurant industry. Um, Employees, waiters, and waitresses should have good morale and be positive to the customers, and that's going to get them a better tip and the restaurant a better reputation. So loyalty and respect are the main two things that an employee should have. Respect earns respect in the restaurant industry, as Leila said.
So we also asked her what qualities do you look for when hiring, and her number one was self-sufficiency and independence, and her number two was someone who's going to make her life easier. So she already has a lot of responsibilities. She doesn't want an employee that's just going to be another responsibility that she has to worry about. So she also looks for highly motivated individuals and someone who's unique because you don't want like a robotic person waiting a table. And she takes pride in like her employees being unique and creating a unique atmosphere for people who are dining there.
Um, so, as we said, employees are the biggest variable for Leela in her managing job, and that is the most challenging part of her job as well, because obviously, um, being the manager, you are in charge of the employees, and the employees are the most crucial aspect in a smooth running restaurant. Every restaurant is going to need positive employees, people that are reliable, and show up to work on time, and Leela is there to make sure that happens.
So we asked her in her position which skill is used the most, technical, human, or conceptual from class, and we explained what those were. And she said technical is the easiest, and she's more of a technical person, so she manages less from the heart and more from her mind and like what she already knows, and she uses logic in her management style. Human is definitely the most difficult to manage because we are a college town, and the employee priorities are often like you don't have people who are trying to feed their families. You have people trying to earn money for the weekend. So oftentimes, like people will show up late because their job's not their number one priority, and so that's difficult to navigate.
Um, Leela tries to implement herself in the restaurant as humble and give the customers a feel of, I guess you could say she's more personal with the customers, and she'll take a table from time to time, as well as make drinks at the bar, and this just creates a more personal experience to the customer themselves when the manager is personally serving them or making them a drink. So she tries to do that as much as she can to stay connected with the customers.
And then lastly, we had asked her, what advice do you have for someone who wants to be a manager one day of a restaurant? And she said, managing a restaurant is a labor of love. So if you don't love it, don't do it. Managing a restaurant takes a lot more of your personal time than one would expect. And oftentimes her work stress is taken home because she doesn't have scheduled hours. And so if something pops up in the middle of the night, she has to handle it. So that's really something that's difficult and not necessarily expected. So this is all that we have, but if you have any questions for us, leave them down below. We'll try to answer them. And we really enjoyed this project. It was super fun. So
Yeah, you should definitely check out Over Yonder. Has an awesome menu and a really good feel, really good vibe in the restaurant.